starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Warning. The material discussed in this show may be sensitive or a trigger for some listeners. Strong language and topics are discussed. We talk with active duty service members and practice OPSEC at all times. You have been warned.
The Bipolar DM, Jason Cottam. His show talks about Dungeons and Dragons, indie writing, and living with a mental illness, in particular bipolar disorder, borderline disorder, and major depression, among other diagnoses. Check us out right here on Saturdays, 7 p.m. Eastern, also on WLFE-DB.com, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. So take a seat, sit back, and get ready for the Bipolar DM.
Welcome to the Bipolar DM show. I am your host, Jason, the Bipolar DM. This is a show about Dungeons and Dragons, indie writing, and living with a mental illness, in particular bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, and major depression, among other diagnoses. If you want to reach out to us, you can get me by email at thebipolardm@gmail.com or visit my webpage, www.thebipolardm.com. There you'll find previous episodes of this show, my podcast, as well as resources on indie writing and Dungeons and Dragons and mental health, all kinds of stuff that's going on there. So that's thebipolardm.com. You can watch us live on Strim TV under the Variety Unlimited channel with WLFE-DB radio, and also can watch us on twitch.tv/thebipolardm. We are a proud supporter of Safe Space. If you're not familiar with Safe Space, that's kind of like how it was back in the 80s and 90s, where you could go to some place like a fire station or anywhere where a safe space was at and know that you could get help. Well, this is a virtual safe space in which if you're in crisis or you need to reach out and talk to somebody, you can reach out to us. Now, we're not doctors, we're not psychiatrists or anything like that, so we're not going to solve your problems, but we're here to listen without judgment, and we have resources available if you go to WLFE-DB.com and click on the Safe Space button, which is very prominent on the website. Also, we have Patreon supporters. If you're interested in like what we're doing and the other programs that we have going on, such as Dungeons and Dog Tags and Bipolar Dragons and some other projects that we have, consider becoming a Patreon supporter with a monthly support. If you go to patreon.com/bipolardm, you can find out more information on that. On today's show, we are going to be speaking with a talented young man by the name of Spencer Steeves. Now, let's go ahead and bring him on. Hello, how are you?
I'm well, and you?
Doing very well. Now, before we get into your book, let's get a little bit of background information about you. You're a young man, so I'm sure you still got some lot of life ahead of you, like the rest of us. But what is your life right now?
Well, at the moment, I'm going to college and working. I'm going to college for environmental science. I've always been very passionate about nature and want to do what I can to save it. And then writing is a hobby that's grown into a little bit more than that.
Okay. That's with your college degree, what are you planning on doing with that? Are you planning on going to the forestry service or work with a environmental agency?
Yeah, I've been looking to go into forestry. I want to work out with nature, just be out there with the plants and the animals, see what I can do to help the plight that they're going through.
Okay.
Because the way I always like to see it is, every person has a story, and so does every tree.
Yep. And there's some great stories. If those trees could talk,
Oh
the
yeah.
history that they've seen is amazing. And let's go ahead and get into your novel, which is your well, we can't necessarily call it a side passion, but a passion among many that you have, which is writing. So,
Hmm.
what is this novel that you have?
So it is called Everything Under the Sun. It's a young adult fantasy novel set in my personal kingdom of Sun's Reach. It follows the story of two young women, Emily Redwin, the princess of the realm, and Amara Sunbrand, the daughter of the primary goddess, as they face the calls of destiny.
Hmm. Now, where did you come up with this story idea?
I'm always reading, so I'm always taking ideas. Then I find things in books I read and like, oh, that's cool. Let's see. I put that in file folder in the back and see where I'll use it later. The This story in particular came actually the setting came from when I was in high school. I was in a video game design class, and we were told to make a board game.
Hmm.
And I was just like, okay, I could just make just a regular board game, or I could do a themed board game, just have some fun with it.
Yeah.
And I had a few characters that I was working on, just characters I had just free, didn't weren't using them anywhere, and I figured I could use them for this. So I started making the board game, and from it came the Kingdom of Sun's Reach, a
Okay.
magical kingdom where 100 years ago, all the magic of the world of that particular kingdom, not the world, was taken away, and uh, and now also the sun is set permanently above the sky. The sun never sets in Sun's Reach,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay, this will work. I had the board game, got that project done, and then I always just kept thinking of the kingdom that I created and all that. And when I got into my first year of college, I had access to the computer lab, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try writing the story. And so I went to the computer lab every single day and got writing. And by halfway through the year, I came out with Everything Under the Sun.
Hmm. Now, did you go through a traditional publishing house, or did you indie publish this on your own?
For the first one, I did go with a traditional publishing house, Covenant Publishing.
Okay.
Uh, we worked with them. They did a great job publishing this book.
Okay.
And we're for the second one, we're going. It's still technically a traditional publishing house, but it's a much smaller one
Hmm.
called Dragon Alchemy.
Okay. Great. Yes. I put two books out, but both of mine I did indie publishing, and I'm still interested in going the route of the traditional publishing house like you have. What were some of the benefits that you found going through the traditional route?
Definitely one of the biggest benefits that I found is uh, I don't have as many connections as I would like to. And
Hmm.
going to the traditional publishers, they were able to set me up with the right people and the proper processes to get everything done in a timely manner.
I bet another thing that's great benefit is the editing they
Mm,
offer
yes.
too, because having written many books that hadn't have been even been published yet, just the sheer thought of going back through line by line and catching all those spelling errors and grammar errors and stuff like that, it's great to be able to have somebody else to do that for you.
Yeah, I feed my projects through several different programs, and even they don't catch everything. So it's good to have a
No.
professional to help you out.
Yeah, that's one of my big one of the things that I like to push, or not necessarily push, but to promote is what no matter what route you go, definitely get a professional editing
Mm.
go through, even if it's not a line by line. You know, having editor go through and just catch loopholes and plot holes and stuff like that in your story is very good too. But if you can afford it, the line by line is the way to go. Getting back to your story, the characters that you came up with, the two characters, were they based on anybody that you knew or somebody you saw in media or anything like that? Where did the inspiration for your particular characters come from?
So as I said before, I base everything off what I read, and I read a whole lot. So I take bits and pieces from all sorts of different characters. I couldn't actually name who any of them are based off of because they're all so many different bits and pieces.
5 or 6 people, yeah. Yeah, and that's great. I think it's Stephen King who says who encourages you to read and steal as much as you can.
Yep.
And he calls it stealing too, but it's like that's the job of an author is to take what other people have written, repackage it, recombine it with something else, and you come up with something unique, like your story. And so it's great to be able to at your age to be published. That's a great feat to do that. Most people don't even go their entire lives and get published. So, and you did it through a very difficult route, which is the traditional publishing route. How many? How would you say how many submissions did you do before you found your house?
Actually, I probably got very lucky because with the Covenant, they're really good at publishing first-time authors. So they had a whole package where they took it in, I submitted it to them, and they took it first try. A very rare case, I know.
Yeah, because usually you have a whole wall full of reject letters saying, it's for whatever reason. But that is very fortunate that you landed, right away. And how's the book been received so far?
Everyone who's read it has told me they enjoy it. I'm still working on advertising and getting sales up, but that's always part of the struggle.
Where can they find it?
It's being sold on Amazon and also on online at Barnes & Noble.
Nice. And now it's another part of this show is one of the things we do talk about is Dungeons and Dragons. Your book definitely has a Dungeons and Dragons feel to it. Do you play?
Oh yes, I have dice right next to me.
Nice. And are you 5th edition, Pathfinder, or?
I do 5th edition.
Okay. And how many campaigns are you in right now?
I'm currently in 3 and running 1.
Nice. And are they all homebrew, or are they in a particular campaign world?
I'm playing 2 homebrew campaigns and running one that's a mix of a published homebrew campaign and a little bit of my world.
Okay, nice. Yeah. What's your favorite character to play?
My favorite class would probably have to be druids. I love just their support and healing abilities, and also they have plenty of combat abilities, and they're really good for support, and I always love playing support.
Definitely, especially when you get in your higher level druid spells, you can really mess some stuff up.
Definitely.
And that's great. And that's what I like about this 5th edition is that it helped give a lot of classes that were in previous editions underpowered and really buffed them up, such as the Bard. That was until recently, just nobody wants to play that. Nobody wants to be a bard because you can't do anything. You get 3 cantrips and it's all magical, sprinkling lights. And now you got Dimension Door, you got Big Beast Hand.
All sorts of versatility, and it's awesome.
Yeah, Vicious Mockery, all that stuff, and really enjoyed it. And now on your DMing game, is this your first time DMing, or are you just doing one game?
It is my second time DMing. I don't like to mention the first.
Okay, yes, we all have those. And so, how's this time going versus your first time?
Going much better. I haven't killed any characters yet.
Yeah, that's
The
good.
first one, the dice really favored me, and I killed way too many characters. So I'm hoping to do much better than that. And I
And there's a lot of tips and tricks you'll pick up later on to get around dice rolls, especially when you're looking at a TPK or
oh yeah,
it says it's non-lethal damage, or you wake up, you're tied up, captured, or there's all kinds of little tricks. And so, what are some of the tricks that you've met? I mean, I know this is a very short bridge between the first and second game, but what's some tricks that you picked up from your first experience that you've carried over to your second? Whether it was preparation or whatnot. What's some tricks that you picked up?
I've definitely learned to prepare ahead of time. What I usually do is before the campaign even starts, I read the entire campaign book 3 or 4 times over, and then I read the particular dungeon or area that they're going to be interacting in the session 2 or 3 times before the session, each week before
Mm-hmm.
the session, just to make sure I have everything cemented in my brain and I'm ready to just focus on the interactions and making it fun for the players.
Yeah, especially when it's really hard to plan a campaign, plan an adventure when it'll go off the rails at any second.
Mm.
With just one decision somebody makes. And
Weeks of
what
planning gone.
have you encountered that yet? The going off the rails.
Not yet, but it was close. I was trying to lead them towards the first dungeon, and they were like, no, let's go save the city. I'm like, no, that's a later dungeon.
Yeah, it really does. You have to use kind of a carrot and stick method a lot of times too, where it's just like treasure here, dragon over here, you know.
You guys are level 1. Do not provoke the dragon.
Yeah, or even a lot of the kobolds that worship him, and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it's just I really love this game. More. Obviously, I have the talk show about it, and I do. Right now, I'm running 5 games.
Mm.
I'm DMing 5 games, and 2 of them are live stream. And it's you definitely got to have a system. I would tell
Yeah.
you that, and everybody's different. I've tried out other people's systems, and then I, have to sit there and kind of make it work for me. And I'm sure you're the same way too. With while Sly Flourish does the Lazy Dungeon Master and some great tips, that may not be for everybody. And so, what's your style of preparing? I mean, are you kind of like the just get a big picture of how everything is? Are you really detailed, checklist of this is how the adventure's going to go? Or
I definitely like the checklist, more of a checklist approach. I
yeah,
like to. I really like the idea, like the campaign books, and I'm working on a couple of my own homebrew adventures, so I can run those in the near future. And I'm trying to plan out as much of at least like the baseline of each event, and then the interactions within those events.
yeah, and that makes for excellent gaming right there. Is when you have that pool table effect where one ball hits the other, which hits another, causing all kinds of stuff. And I think that's called a decision tree,
Hmm.
is what that method is called. But yeah, a lot of work. I'll tell you what, and I think just about all of us start out that way. Is we start out as that list everything that they can possibly do, that you can think of, and have a meticulous adventure planned out. And then you kind of get to the point where I am 25, 30 years later after dungeon mastering. And I'm like, fuck it, I'll just throw some dice down, random tables. All right, here's the adventure we're going on, and just,
Yep.
you know. And it's a lot of fun too. But it does take a bit to get there. And the route you're going is very good, I think. And eventually, though, I think you'll also probably get away from the checklist and get more into just having a general idea what's in the area, so that when it does go off the rails, which it will, you're prepared for if they go south when everything you got going on is up north, and you can just throw a dungeon in there for them off
Yep.
the fly. It's a lot of fun when you stretch out and try improvising a lot more. And if you have a chance, have you taken any improvising classes, like in high school or college?
I did not exactly improvisation, but I did do a lot of acting classes,
Mm-hmm.
and I was part of the my high school's theater club.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
so we did a lot of improvisation games there. So I do
yeah,
have,
and
I definitely do, and also since I'm big into writing and I watch a lot of D&D stuff, I'm always ready for whatever the character's saying. Like, okay, I know what the character's going to say back.
yeah, and that's where it comes into having that prep work, especially with your NPCs. Is that and kind of getting an idea, not necessarily the whole life story of your NPC, your non-player character, but at least enough to know this is their disposition towards adventurers, whether it's
Hmm.
they just don't like them or they we want to work with them, and then that feeds into it. And a lot of great random tables if you ever start getting into that for planning your NPCs and creating, especially when you're running out of ideas. Those random tables are awesome. You can get them all free off the internet, without
Oh
having
yeah.
to buy books. And I mean, Sly Flourish has a great book with a bunch of tables in it, but when you can get it for free, it's the internet has been. I mean, I wish I had the internet when I was a kid and doing Dungeons and Dragons with all the information you can get. It's
Oh
amazing.
yeah. I love using just random tables. Like, one of my favorite things is just taking the life events table that
Mm-hmm.
D&D has and just rolling out a complete character on there. I was like, okay, now how am I going to make this backstory actually work with all those events? And
Yeah,
I just mental exercise and just have a lot of fun with that.
yeah, and I've noticed, especially as I've expanded the number of games, the plasticity of my mind has gotten a lot better because I had to work and memorize and remember players off of 5 different games and what each character is doing, and it really has helped a lot
Mm.
with my mind, which it's been idle for a while. So don't ever let that happen to you. Don't ever get idle. I had to retire early because of my disability, but getting into Dungeons and Dragons has been a great thing for me.
Mm.
How has it helped you with going through? I would assume also you played in high school and in college.
Yeah, I played a little bit in high school, and then my number of campaigns picked up as I got through college. And I'm what's known as the group's lore keeper.
Mm-hmm.
I'm usually the one doing the notes, and I also take the adventures and write stories about them. For example, I was in a campaign just last year during the pandemic, during the height of the pandemic, and the campaign that we played, I turned into a novel called The A-List Report, which is going to be published eventually.
Nice. Those are always great. The kind of the stories that write themselves, especially when you got good notes.
Mm.
And I know like the Dragonlance novels originally kind of spawned up that way, which was what had gotten me into Dungeons and Dragons. Eventually, what was it that got you into playing D&D?
Uh, R.A. Salvatore novels.
Oh yeah. So how
I'm
did you find those? That's guys. That's not exactly common reading.
Those were a lucky find. I went to a tag sale one time, and this guy was selling a huge box of the Driz series, and
Uh
I was
huh.
like, I'll just take that.
Yeah. It looks like
And I'm still not quite caught up. I'm still working on. I think I'm on book 37, and he just released
mm-hmm.
book 43.
Nice. And that's a great series. The Drizzt series, especially
Oh
that
yes.
character, is amazing. Yeah, a lot of history, with that, and but has that any of that bled over into your book? Any of the Drizzt stuff?
Definitely. Combat was always the hardest thing for me to write, but
Mm,
in the Drew series, he does a lot of combat. So it's like, okay, I can take tips from this and I can use them. And I can
what are
actually,
some good tips?
uh, in like, for like combat, you really have to, I, I always think you have to like focus on the, really zoom into the moment and spend time really focusing on what exactly the character is doing,
Mm-hmm.
and also what they're thinking. Because in like if you're just going like, oh, he hit him, he hit him, he hit him again, it's just gets boring. And if
Right.
you can like show the characters planning in the moment, reacting to the scenarios around them, and also using their environment, it will really heighten your combat.
Yeah. Yes, it will. That's great. That's some great advice right there that you picked up. And well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we'll talk about what you got going on in the future.
All right.
So I'll go ahead and run a quick commercial here. And welcome back to the Bipolar DM show. I'm host Jason, and we are with Spencer Steeves as we talk about his book and some history with him with Dungeons and Dragons and other things. And now we're going to talk about some of the stuff that he has in the future. You say you got some other work that's ready to be published too. So what's that going to be?
Yeah, so first I am actually the book two in the Astral Kingdom series, which Everything Under the Sun is the first novel in. Book two, Sunrise, Sunfall, is going to be published in early May, I believe.
Hmm.
So I'm really excited for that. Published by the Dragon Alchemy. She was a small, she was a writer herself, and she saw the difficulties people were having with traditional publishing, so she decided she'd get into the ring herself and
Hmm.
start helping authors out.
That's
Um,
great.
so I have that coming up. I mentioned Ailish Report, which will be that's going to be published after I publish book three of
Mm-hmm.
the Astral Kingdoms, which I'm working on now, and other projects I'm working on. A couple other novels. I'm always working on different projects.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest thing is to get over writer's block. I just have 4 or 5 powers going at once, so I can bounce between them as the ideas come and flow.
Hmm. Okay. I might have to try that sometime. Will help with my ADD too, so I can jump from one to the other.
Hmm.
So, now, do you have anything coming up as far as promoting your books? Have you doing anything like that?
I do actually. This um, next month I believe the 4th through the 6th, I'm going to be at the Rhode Island Captain Con, and also taking part in there doing a panel with a bunch of different creative minds, including some board game creators, I believe a video game creator, and then I'm on there as the author.
Nice. That is going to be a lot of fun. I love panels. That's one of my favorite things at a convention is to see all the different panels. So that is great. Okay, and anything else do you got coming up? Is that it?
That's it at the moment.
Okay. At the moment, yeah, you never can tell how some of these things can come about, especially when it comes to promoting your book.
Yep.
And yes, so that's about all I got for questions today. So I really appreciate having you on. And let's go ahead again. Title of your book?
It is Everything Under the Sun.
By Spencer Steeves, and that can be found on Amazon. And you said Barnes & Noble.
Yep, online at Barnes & Noble.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you very much. And I'm going to go ahead and put you in the back room real quick while we tie this up. And thank you again.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you again for tuning in to the Bipolar DM show. I know this one's a little bit short, but a great topic to talk with a new writer and even to be able to learn a thing or two from a young writer, such as his way of getting over a writer's block. I'm going to have to give that a try. Thank you all for tuning in, and appreciate every single one of you. This is on, we're broadcasting on WLFE-DB radio, and as well as on Strim TV for the Variety Unlimited channel, and twitch.tv/the Bipolar DM. We can be found on YouTube and Facebook Live. You'll have to do a search for those. To do that, we don't have a channel yet. And again, if you want to support us on Patreon, we can use your help. Patreon.com/BipolarDM. And thank you again for watching us. And remember, everybody, take your meds.
Thank you for listening to the Bipolar DM. They love sharing thoughts and ideas. See you next week, 7 p.m. Saturdays on WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows, and that makes for great talk radio. WLFE Digital Broadcast Network is on TV. You can watch all of our shows on WLFE-DB.com. Check out our channels: Paranormal View for all of your paranormal type shows, LGBTQ Friends for all of our LGBTQ shows, Variety Unlimited for all other shows. It runs 24/7 right on WLFE-DB.com. You'll even catch the lives, all in one place. Never miss an episode, past or future. WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.